Vanishing Languages, written by Sean Alson McCollum. Focus question: what are vanishing languages and why are people working to preserve them? Table of contents: the last speaker, conquest and the killing of languages, assimilation and language shift, modern words, keeping a language alive, creating comebacks and glossary. The last speaker: languages are like living things. They grow, spread, and change as people use them to communicate. Sometimes, though, they can fade and even die out. The Linguistic Society of America reports that a growing number of languages are becoming endangered languages, meaning that they are at risk of dying out in the near future. Anthropologists, scientists who study cultures, sometimes compare endangered languages to endangered species. They may go extinct if they are not cared for and protected, just like preserving animals who are in risk of extinction. Often, an endangered language is only spoken by a few elders, while young people are no longer learning it. Language experts, called linguists, predict that of the world's more than 7,000 languages, 3,500 would die out by the year 2100. Thus, half all the language in the world around one language goes extinct every 2 weeks. Linguists and speakers of endangered languages are working hard to prevent languages from disappearing. Edwin Penson was a member of the Mandan people, one of 3 tribes that inhabit the Fort Berthold Reservation in North Dakota in the United States. The Mandan, who now live in various communities around the world, once inhabited more extensive tribal lands along the Missouri River where North and South Dakota are today. When Benson died in 2016, part of his people's culture passed away with him. He was the last fluent speaker of Mandan, a language that had spoken for centuries. Benson helped create Mandan dictionaries and recordings before his death. Fluent speakers of endangered languages are teaching extensive language classes to young students. Linguists are also rushing to record the last speakers, such as Benson, and document what they know. This shared goal is to prevent these vital elements of culture from disappearing forever. Conquest and the killing of languages. Languages have faded and disappeared throughout human history. This sometimes happens when an outside culture conquers a people. In these situations, the conquered people language can be destroyed quite quickly. One example of this is the Taino people in the Caribbean. Tô mời đi ra!
Nói chưa?
Tôi có bánh bạch xuyển xuyệt đấy! Đi ra! One example of this is the Taino, people of the Caribbean islands. The Taino met Christopher Columbus men when they arrived in the Americas in the 1490s. Columbus and his men enslaved many of the Taino, crushing their traditions and culture. They also transmitted diseases the Taino had no defense against, rapidly killing them and other indigenous peoples by the millions. Within 50 years, almost all Taino were dead, and with them nearly the entire culture and language. However, people of the Taino heritage survived, and some Taino words were added to other cultures. English, for example, has adopted Taino terms such as cano, barbecue, hammock, and hurricane. Oh, that's interesting, to be honest. More recently, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people of Australia experienced destructions of their traditional ways of life. Researchers estimate that the original people first arrived on the continent as many as 65,000 years ago. They formed hundreds of nations with unique cultures and languages. Then, in 1788, colonists from England arrived. As with the Taino, foreign diseases soon struck indigenous peoples in Australia. Soldiers and settlers massacred them as well. Researchers estimate that the population of indigenous Australian people shrank from 300,000 to 75,000 within 150 years of the British colonists' arrival. Under this outside pressure, the language and traditional parts of many people's cultures faded or, in some cases, went extinct. Linguists estimate that people in Australia spoke about 250 indigenous languages before European colonists arrived. Today, Australians speak only 60 on a regular basis. Assimilation and language shifts. When one culture is assimilated or absorbed into another culture, whether from outside pressure or advantages the other culture offers, the original culture often gives up its own language. Sometimes this change may be the result of economic factors. People may find that they benefit by using the language of a culture with which they trade or do business. Eventually, the outside language may be taken over as the everyday speech. The Swahili, a small ethnic group located along the coast of East Africa. Across the region, Arab traders and often African peoples adopted the Swahili language for business and politics. In fact, Swahili added many Arabic words as its influence spread. Swahili is not the official language of Kenya and Tanzania. As it has gained speakers, Swahili has pushed aside traditional languages of people like the Dahalo in Kenya and the Zaramo in Tanzania, and others. Another example of a language that has been affected by cultural assimilation is Hawaiian, which is considered a severely endangered language. Hawaii is the only U.S. state with two official languages, English and Hawaiian. The United States took over these Pacific islands in the late 1800s. Gradually, younger native Hawaiians switched to English as the everyday language of the education and business. According to the U.S. government report, only about 6% of the more than 1.3 million people in Hawaii spoke Hawaiian at home in 2011. Public culture and modern technology have helped cause such a language shift. Young speakers of these languages may be bombarded by music, movies, and news in the language of another culture. This added pressure causes more erosion of the endangered language. At the same time, the internet and other media have the power to preserve endangered languages by sharing them with more people. Today, students can attend public Hawaiian language immersion schools. These students don't learn English until 5th grade. More than words. Why would people care? Why should people care if languages disappear? One reason is that our words and the ideas they express help make us who we are. As an important part of everyday's culture and identity, language connects people and communities. The languages we speak help us make sense of the world. When language vanishes, the people whose ancestors spoke it usually suffer. Often, important parts of the history, religion, values, and daily ways of life are lost. Some of the ideas simply cannot be expressed in any language but their own. Every language is unique to the time and place where it developed. Linguists travel the world to record and document endangered languages. Researchers want to create records of them before the last speaker say the last word. Speakers of a given language may have unique and extensive knowledge about scientific information, such as the plants, animals, and weather patterns of their homelands. For example, Inuit and Aleut peoples have lived for many generations in far northern regions of the world. Most of the year, they are surrounded by darkness and cold. The languages, like Inuktitut and Central Siberian Ubykh, have dozens of words for different types of snow and ice. Through oral histories, Inuit elders have used traditional languages to pass knowledge from one generation to the next. The expertise has helped climate scientists better understand how the Arctic environment has changed over time. For example, Inuit can explain what kinds of ice and snow were once common in the land but now no longer form. They can also describe how environmental changes affect animals. Some of these languages are now endangered, so researchers want to preserve this important knowledge. Keeping a language alive. Today, most endangered languages share common characteristics. First, they usually belong to small ethnic groups. Second, most are oral languages, languages that have been spoken but do not have a strong tradition of being written down. Third, they face pressure from other cultures, often those that are more powerful in economic terms. These factors may put a language at risk. Field linguists, such as those who work for the Enduring Voices Project, a collaboration between the National Geographic Society and Living Tongues Institute of Endangered Languages, travel the world to catalog and record the most endangered languages. It is important to document fluent speakers of an endangered language to protect the variety of human knowledge. Researchers want to preserve the vocabulary, pronunciation, and grammar of vanishing languages by creating a library of materials. By recording the speakers of these languages doing different activities, such as singing a song, preparing a meal, or building a house, linguists create living dictionaries that show how these people describe the world around them. Like students in Hawaii, children around the world take immersion classes as another way for communities to bring back endangered languages. These classes are taught totally in the language that people hope to preserve. For example, only around 125,000 of New Zealand's 4.7 million people speak Maori, an endangered language of a native Polynesian people. Today, many children take Maori immersion classes. The aim is to get very young children using Maori every day. If young children learn that endangered language, there's a much better chance to staying alive. Creating comebacks. Saving languages is about taking care that knowledge and human experience do not disappear. As languages like Chinese, Spanish, and English spread further around the world, it becomes more difficult to prevent other languages from vanishing. Linguists know that saving Maori, Mandarin, or any other endangered language is about more than memorizing words and pronouncing them correctly. It's about saving a culture and way of life that can teach us more about humanity. So here's some new word you can refer to. For example, assimilated means absorbed into a cause to become a part of something else. Bombarded means exposed to or overwhelmed by a large, repeated number of things, such as questions or criticisms. Erosion means the act, a process of being worn away or gradually destroyed. Okay, so that's it. Connections, writing, research how to say and write 10 words in one of the endangered languages in a book, present your findings to your class. Social studies, writing research to learn more about the Enduring Voices project, write an essay about the goals of the project, including a summary or some of the work he has done in the field. Okay, so I'll definitely do the pronunciation of 10 words that belong to one of the endangered languages mentioned in this passage. So I'll choose Maori because that name sounds really
Good
familiar
job.
to me. And so let's do the quiz before we do anything else. What conclusion can you draw about the languages of conquered people? Conquered people? Indigenous. And that are the same meaning as native. I think them both harm and good because like it can help share information or knowledge about that endangered language, and the bad comes with good. The bad is that with the emergence of modern technology and language shift, it caused more endangered languages into extinction. So yeah, it always have two sides. What the other's purpose for this text? What do most endangered languages have in common? Linguists create living dictionaries too. According to the author, why is it important for children to learn disappearing languages? Vanishing languages are the languages that are at risk of disappearing entirely from the languages system. For some vanishing languages that you may consider is Maori or Mandarin, which are two languages mentioned in this book. And people working to preserve them because they want to not only keep their language, learn the grammar or the pronunciation, but also to keep the culture and the heritage of that indigenous people and the native speakers of that language, so that people around the world can learn more about humanity and the history and so much more. So that's what I think, but it really vary from others to others. But that's what I think about vanishing languages and what people are working on to preserving them. It depends.
Look at you go!
Okay, thank you
A
a lot for
perfect
watching
score.
this. Okay, I forgot to learn 10 new words, but I think it's kind of like really interesting, so I'll do it. Maori vocabulary. Basic vocabulary. That's what it means. Basic vocabulary. Sao?
Về.
Về đâu?
Đi về nhá.
Mẹ bảo về đâu?
Mày kêu về để mai mà ôn bài đi học.
Ba bốc phét ít thôi, ba định rủ à?
Vi về để học bài để nó yên tĩnh. Ở đây học đâu có yên tĩnh.
It's two official languages in New Zealand. Okay, here it is. Like in car. Con cần gì về, con không đi học đâu, con thi hết xong rồi mà.
Đúng rồi. Thôi, ba về một mình nha, bye bye.
Con thi hết rồi mà ba.
Con về cái gì?
Vâng, con còn gì phải học đâu. Okay, so first we have some hello. Kia ora. I don't know, maybe their pronunciation is not exactly related to how it looks like, but let's read the description here. An informal greeting to one, hello, can also be used to express gratitude, send love, show thanks, or make a connection to someone else. Literally, it means to wish the extent of life upon someone else. You may also say kia ore, how, oh my god, so weird. Tentacle, a formal greeting to one good day, and so much more. Goodbye, we have matawa, hara, whatever it is. Okay, I think you can learn more about the Maori language in this website. Kai is food, puku is stomach, tummy and belly, puku kai is food lover, glutton, kai moana is seafood. Hangi is a traditional way to cook food, an earth oven that cooks using steam and heat from heated stones, things you might do. Haikoi is walk, mo is sleep, korero talk, ako learn, titiro will look, wakarongo is listen, kanikani is dance. Kanikani, that sounds really like, I know, it sounds catchy. Kanikani, paki paki is clap, kanikani is dance, and paki paki is clap. Okay. Other useful Tario Maori's words you might encounter. Yes, kao no, aroha mai sorry, kia kaha, be strong, keep going. Okay, let's watch a video of people pronouncing the Maori language, shall we? Maori language. Spoken. Here it is. It's 12 years ago.
He mea pōhiri te tūmua ki hou o te taurawhiri I te reo Māori I te...
I want to... Of New Zealand.
My high school counselor recommended us to take this Duolingo English test, and it was like way less stress.
I went to a full immersion Māori school, so we didn't speak English up until high school. And that's really... Raki. Yeah.
Hey guys! So today I'm here in the Botanic Gardens in Christchurch with a very special friend.
So much for watching this.